to another episode of My Car Shop. Episode 19 of the 47 Ford Street Rod Project. A little bit of Christmas going on here at My Car Shop today. We've got the valve covers and the gaskets and the oil and the filter are all here. So I think in today's episode I'm going to spend a little break. I'll give my lungs a break from breathing dust and let that primer shrink up a bit more. And we're going to spend some time working on the engine. Going to take the plugs, get them cleaned up, change out the valve covers, get things like that done. So this will be some fun, get the hands a bit dirty today, and just take a break from all the effort that has been taken to get these fenders done. Looking over the fenders just a little while ago, very happy with the way everything's turning out, looking good. A couple little flaws here and there to fix, but once these things dry up a little bit and block them out, either later today or tomorrow, and make sure that they're good to go. We'll have to reprime that driver's side fender one more time, but I would think by this weekend, potentially we could be ready to paint these things. It's going to depend on the weather. We've got a lot of things I got to cover up in here, and just blow everything down real good, make sure there's no dust in the air, and get things ready to paint. So real happy about that moving forward. And let's look at the engine here. 355 Chevy, got a Lunati cam in it, dual exhaust, nothing real fancy, not intended to be a drag car. It's just a high performance street hot rod, so to speak, mild performance I should say. Just intended to be a fun driver. So when I started building this car, my intention was for my wife and I to take it down Route 66 and take a trip for our 20th anniversary. We've been married 30 years now. Still haven't taken it on a trip, so maybe by our 35th we'll get it out on a road trip. But it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to doing this today. So once again, welcome to My Car Shop. Okay, it's going to be like Christmas here, so let's open up some presents and see what we got. First time I've ever actually ordered anything from O'Reilly's online. It wasn't a bad experience. I ordered things Monday. Got the email from O'Reilly saying that my order had been received and that they would send me an email confirmation that it was being shipped, and I didn't hear anything else from them. So I was a bit frustrated yesterday, and then later in the day, yesterday, got an email saying that the product had been shipped and was due today. So it wasn't so much that I'm unhappy with the delivery time, I was just unhappy with the communication. But I guess considering the quarantine and everything that's going on, I should be a bit more patient. So lots of paper in there. Here we go. What do we got? Oh yes, El Cheapo Micro Guard Oil Filter, because nothing but the best, Should be a good set of mystery gasket. Oh no, Velcros. Okay, good. Yes, the nice thick Velcro gaskets. We'll get those glued on the valve covers. And let's open up the covers and see what we got, what they look like. If we move this out of the way. Okay. I always love chrome. One of the things that I did when I first put this car together, was I always wanted to go just to an auto parts and buy the dress-up kit stuff. So at that time I think I went to AutoZone and just bought everything off the shelf, because I kind of grew up in the era when speed parts were mostly ordered online. Now in my college days I actually managed a high-performance shop and sold speed parts over the counter, but for the most part, that was right on the tail end of that, and I was in college, so I really didn't have any money for this stuff. So it always been my dream to walk into an auto parts and go up with a big cartload of high-performance accessories and goodies and pay for them and walk out the door and go home and put them on the car. So I lived that dream, and now we can't go to the store and buy this stuff, so we mail ordered it, and that's fine. Let's see what we got here. Perhaps I don't know how to open a box. Not really sure. Don't really want to tear it up in case I got to send it back. Okay, what do we got here? I got a feeling it's glued inside. Oh, there's tape on it. Well, all right then. I think I'm seeing what's going on here now. Let's get on the World Wide Web and embarrass ourselves because we don't know how to open a box. That'll be fun. There we go. I said if there's problems and I have to return it, I don't want to destroy the box. Very happy, like that. Decided to go with the tall valve covers this time. Why? Because I could. Last time I bought the shorts. Price-wise, it was pretty much the same. Oh, chrome on this is a lot nicer than what that was on those. So, yeah, they're cheap, you know, but they look great. They're going to look phenomenal on there. And they say Edelbrock on them, so, you know, why do I want Edelbrock on them? Because I want Edelbrock on them. No reason. Let's put this one back in the package for now. No dents, no chips, no places of plating missing, so for cheapos, they're pretty good. Let's pull this one out of the box here. Oh yeah, very nice, very nice. We'll get these coated up good with some Mother's protectant so they don't rust, and they're going to look phenomenal. Look at that sparkly chrome, much better than the ones that are on there. On camera, those look good, but up close, there's some rust on there from sitting for 10 plus years. So looking forward to getting the good chrome back on it again. So if you know anybody wants to buy a set of a little bit of rusty Edelbrock valve covers, those will be available for fairly inexpensive price. So, all right, that's the next trick here today. Find some place to put all this stuff. Okay, so I'm going to take a few minutes to do a little organization here and shift from body and paintwork stuff to mechanical stuff. Flip my heater around a little bit so the heat's directing more towards the engine so I can work on this comfortably, and we'll go from there. It's not bad today. It's a little windy outside, rainy, damp. Just turned the heat on when I walked in here, and it's already up to 55, so it's going to be a 60-degree day in here. It's going to be comfortable. Let's do this. Okay, let's pull a couple plugs out here and see what they look like. So I do want to put new plugs in this before I get the front end on it probably, but for now I'm just going to clean these up, see what they look like. Really? All the starting and stopping, running it for a couple minutes, pulling it in the shop. Yeah, it's all falling out. Just never gets up to temperature and gets driven enough to keep the plugs clean. So this isn't so much a matter of it's over fueling as it is just the never gets the chance to get up to temperature. So we're going to put these over in the sandblast cabinet. We'll do all 8 of them, of course, but I wanted to pull out a couple and see what they look like. I've got to get the sandblast cabinet set up, and then we'll go over there in that corner. Okay, so we got the sandblasting cabinet set up here now, and be getting ready to do that. Got the glass all cleaned up because it hasn't been used for quite a while, so we'll get the plugs in there and then get them cleaned up a little bit here and see how that works out for us. It's a good place for them back there. Close this thing up. Okay, let's get the vac on and get her going. Nice. Should have been more careful. Okay, I wasn't being careful enough, so I got to take the grate out and get those out of the bottom. Hang on. Helps if you put the plug in the cabinet. You can't get that lid open with the vacuum going either. It's tight. It's also very helpful if you shoot it with the sand instead of the flashlight. So So we'll have to remember that for the future. Make note of that yourself, it's important. So what I'm using here on this cabinet is just a standard Craftsman shop vac that's got a decent filter in it. And then it goes back here to the back where there's normally a foam filter like this in there. If you keep that in there, it doesn't suck as hard, so I take it out. And then that fitting is actually designed to have a vacuum fitting put on it. So that's the way I do it. Keeps that cabinet from getting full of dust. I do sell a vacuum attachment with an explosion-proof vacuum, blah, blah, blah. But I've used this vacuum for years, and I've sucked up a lot worse dust than this with it. So it works good. And for little stuff that I do like that, it's more than adequate. Okay, then the next thing I do is use a little brake parts cleaner and just get them a little wet. Of course, you're going to blow it in there. Just want to wash them out a little bit. We're going to blow the sand out of them. Obviously, we don't want to put that sand in the engine or in the threads. I missed a couple over somewhere, so let's do them all again just to be safe. There we go. Okay, lots of black crap coming out of there now, so just blow them out. Somewhere there, just like new. The main thing is getting down inside. You know, you just cleaning out here isn't good. Where they get fouled is they build resistance because they get way down inside of there. They get all that crap. So when I was sandblasting, if you noticed, I was shooting right down up in there. Years ago, I used to have a little baggy attachment thing that went on the bench. And you'd put it in there and blow it and twist it around, and this works better. It did the job. So thanks, Brad, for bringing that up here because it's very handy for me. And now you see what I was talking about, a vacuum attachment. Okay, we're all set. Let's get these babies put back in. Okay, so the plugs are back in now. You notice I put just a little drop of, not much hardly at all, of anti-seize on those. I like to do that on Acorn plugs. It's a me thing, but particularly on this car with this massive fenders you got to work over. If those plugs are in there for 2 years, these won't be, but it's just a habit. If those plugs are in there for 2 or 10 years, with as little as I'll drive this, and I've got to get those out and they happen to rust in there, a little bit of an anti-seize, make sure they're torqued down good, and then you'll never have to worry about it. So just a habit I developed when I was a mechanic, 20 years ago or more, and I've just always done that on Acorn style plugs. Let's get these plug wires cleaned up now, then we'll start working on the valve covers. Okay, so in case you're wondering what I'm doing here, I'm gluing the valve cover gasket to the valve cover. And the reason I do that is that way the gasket sticks with the cover when I have to take it off. And I will have to take it off at different times, I'm sure. That's just typical. You always hope not. So using what I call 3M yellow super trim adhesive works good for this. And then the second thing you saw me doing, let's give this a second to tack up. Once I get it on there, because the glue gets everywhere, I just take a little bit of white lithium grease on my finger and just run it around that gasket surface so that the glue that happens to slop over to the other side doesn't stick the gasket to the head. You don't want a lot on there, but not a problem at all to do that, and it just helps that gasket stay free so it will seal without gluing itself to both, and then you ruin the gasket getting it off. So this only takes a minute or two to get this done up. Let's see, which side is that? It's the top side. Okay. I like to put the extra hole towards the top because there's less likelihood of it leaking that way. Get it lined up good. Get her glued down on there. And then that gasket will stay right in place forever until you want to replace it later. So then again, you see me doing this, and I'm just taking that little grease and just running it around there just lightly, especially where I see that there's a little bit of that glue that's slopped over. Been doing this for years, never had a problem. It's just a me thing. Not that it was ever taught, it's just one of those. Well, back in the day they used to sometimes coat gaskets with oil, so I suppose that's where I got the idea. These are done right, they'll seal just fine, no problem. You don't have to use RTV or anything on them, and then you can get them back off again. So then I go around and just check it and make sure that anywhere I see there's a bit of glue, yeah, it's not sticky at all, so that won't stick now. We can put that valve cover on. Last time I got a little bit of glue on the top surface somehow, not sure how. So, all right, let's get this valve cover on the engine. All right, move the old crap out of the way there. I really hate to put the front end on this car. It's so easy to just sit here on the tires and work on this, but it kind of looks silly without it. So, those that have had open wheel dragsters can appreciate the, what we got there? A little bit of zoots. Those that have had open wheel dragsters can appreciate the comfort and the ease of which it is to work on something like this one. You can just sit on the tire and do the job. A whole lot easier on the back. You're not straining your back trying to work on the thing, and hurting for days after. I have enough back problems as it is from 40 years of doing this stuff. Okay, one more. So the other thing, these are T-handles. If you ever use cheap T-handles like these are Mr. Gasket brand most likely. I suppose they could be Proform, but they're all made in China or somewhere else. The handles don't stick on the shafts very well. Some of them strip out. So what I end up doing, once I'm sure everything is good, I just take a dab of RTV, put in there, holds that T-handle on. Well, this one's stripped. It's cheap crap, chrome crap. But I do like the ability to, a little tighter than I care for, but that's fine. That one's there. There we go. Okay, so I like the ability to be able to just take these off without having to get a socket and a wrench. So, yeah, I didn't get any glue on that one, so that was much better. All right, let's get the grommet in there for the breather. Then we have to make a decision. Let's get these wires out of the carburetor before I forget. Okay, there we go. Yeah, they loop a little bit much up front. We need to pull those back like that. There we go, much happier. I suppose I could buy the special wire looms that go up here, but most of these things, they want the white, lot of them, they want the coming over the valve cover. With these Ram's horns manifolds, that doesn't work so well. I like to go down underneath behind so that the wires don't get any heat on them. And I'm sure that is the way they're supposed to be, but here's the reality. I'm not a Chevy guy, so I just make it up as I go. Okay, the breather looks pretty good yet. I think we need a different grommet. Just remember that. They come with one standard size grommet, I'm pretty sure. Yep. I happen to have one. Wish I'd have thought of that before I put it in, but no big deal. I remember now that I had to get one. Alrighty then. There we go. Fingerprints and all. So the decision to be making. I'll be right back. So here's the decision. Do we advertise for Edelbrock and match the breather and the valve covers, even though this one's just a touch rusty? Or do we go with this brand new one here that my buddy Mark gave me? Thank you, Mark. That advertises Summit Racing equipment. I guess the only way to know is to put them on there and see what they look like, right? The other thing I'm noticing is that this was a higher priced Spectra washable air filter. It used to be nice red. It looked really cool. It's faded over the years. So I could put a nice white one in there, but I've got one. Not sure I want to. Looks like they're the same thickness. Yes, they are. Well, maybe what I'm going to do is keep this one in the box. When I go to car shows, I'll throw it in. When I drive it, I'll use this one. I can just wash this one out and use it over and over again. But it's not quite as pretty, so anyway. Got another one in the box over there too, but I think it's thicker. I'm not sure I want to get too carried away with another thicker one because my stud won't fit. Okay, so the decision to be made. Do we go with the Edelbrock? Let's get you over here where you can see better. Hang on. So do we go with the Edelbrock on there that matches the valve covers? Or do we go with the Summit Racing equipment? Yeah, it's got a dent in it. That made the decision. Mark, I think that got bent a little bit in your vet. That's probably where that came from. So, not that I won't use it because I got plenty of cars, but I'm going to stick with the Edelbrock even though it's got a few rust pits in it. Well, I guess I was going to have you guys comment and tell me what you thought, but I answered my own question in the process of doing this. So, put this baby in there. There we go. Get my handy dandy little nut on there. Get her straightened up. Let's run my handy dandy. I think I mentioned this the other day. This Motor X from Switzerland. Love this stuff. I absolutely love this product. And I was noticing on one of the other shows, I think it was Vice Grip Garage. I think he's using Motor X products also. I got to double check that, but really like this product, and I've had it for years. I've used it for years. It cleans everything. I use it on the plug wires. I use it on the chrome. I use it on glass. It's just a handy product that I really, really like. So let's get some clean towel here. Make sure that's clean. It is. We've got 2 rolls of blue towel left, so it's got to last me a couple weeks. Not that I probably can't get some somewhere mail order, but just trying not to go out more than I have to right now. I've had so many friends and people I know that have come down with this thing, and friends, relatives have passed from it who are in good health and so forth. So just trying to do my part in case I am a carrier and stay home. If I do go out, I wear my mask not to protect myself, it's to protect other people. And so I try not to go out for silly things, and you know, as much as I'm enjoying this, it pretty much is a silly thing. But I was telling my wife yesterday that if it wasn't for this car, I'd probably be climbing the walls right now. So, okay, I'm sure that'll get edited. Yeah, there's a rust spot right there and one right there. I'll probably just order another Edelbrock. Seems like it's crooked still. Really like the way this looks. On my 68 here, I went with Moroso all across the board, and I decided on this one. I'll go Edelbrock. Let's do some advertising for other companies that I like. All right, gotta get a clean towel. Of course, if I could have put Mopar performance valve covers on this, I would have. Not. I'm a Mopar guy through and through, but even I know better than that. I did at one time think about putting the 318 in this, and I also thought about putting an Olds engine that I had. I had a small 2 something or another Olds V8 engine and transmission. It's got a small dent in that little butter, doesn't it? Oh no, that's the way it's fabricated. Okay. There's a little line right there. It's from where they did that stamping. That's brake clean. By the way, I'm not endorsed by Motorex, so that was a free plug for them. There we go. Cool. All right, let's get you a bit of a walk around here and talk about the next things we got to do. There, she's more like she should. Look, that intake is unfortunately getting a little scummy, but for now, I guess that's what we're going to leave it as. The exhaust manifold, this one I got to treat again. I'm trying to decide if I'm just going to clean it up and paint it right there, or if I'm going to take it off and put it in the sandblasting cabinet and start over. Verdict out on that, but she's sparkly. I want you to notice how almost perfectly lined up that is. That was totally by plan, not. It's just a happy coincidence. As you can see over here on this side, that manifold, this one was brand new. I had to order it special off of an old Chevy pickup, as I mentioned in one of the other episodes. It's actually a passenger side manifold put on the driver's side, so you get that sweep down there to get around the steering box. That's the 47 steering box in this. My fuel pump is right there, as you probably have noticed. That's going to be in the back. It's just there temporarily because there's a antifreeze jug next to my foot that I dump a gallon of gas in, and that's what I drive it on right now. Okay, one other thing I need to do. I don't think I'm going to do it today, but we've got an antifreeze leak out of the water neck down here, and so I need to pull that off of there and get that cleaned up and get that sealed. That's been leaking for years. Other than that, I think this thing is tight. I noticed that the timing cover is getting oil covered down there, and some of the black needs to be cleaned up. We may just get this power washer out and get this thing a blast, which means I got a lot of cleaning to do again, but for now I'm happy with it, and I'll make those decisions before I bolt that front end on there. So there she is, looking pretty good. Okay, so the final thing here that I'm going to do in this time right now before I go grab a little bit to eat, let's fire this up and see if cleaning those plugs made a difference. You remember it was doing a lot of popping and farting and banging, real hesitant on the gas pedal and so forth, so I haven't touched anything except clean the plugs, and let's fire it up, see what she sounds like. Yeah, sounds great. It's bogging a little bit there, you noticed once, because the choke is wide open on the thing, and I don't have the electric choke assist hooked up, so I've got the choke just kind of set, so it has to warm up for a minute, but it's not popping and spitting. The other thing that's really weird I haven't got into yet, if you heard it, there's a whistle in this carburetor. Never heard a Holly do that before. I've got to get my stethoscope out and get out here and see where it's coming from. It's in the primary side of the carburetor. Not sure what it is, but it makes this really weird. And so at some point, I've got a box full of Holly carbs upstairs. I may just change the base plate, see if that's what it is. I don't know if it's the Venturis. I'll probably be able to tell with my stethoscope and get down in there and listen, see if I can figure that out. Doesn't bother me a whole lot, but on the other hand, I mean, it doesn't. When you're going down the road, I don't believe it whistles. It's just on acceleration at certain points, but it's different. I don't know. You guys got any ideas? If you've ever seen that before, drop a comment down there. Let me know. All right, we'll be back after lunch. Okay, so as I was taking my lunch break and pondering things, I decided that I'm going to pop this intake off. So I need to order a set of intake gaskets, but I'm looking at this, and this intake was beautiful, and I clear coated it 10 years ago when I put the motor in, and it would do it justice to pop it out of there, take all the plugs out of it, get it cleaned up, sandblast it again, clear coat it again, and just make it look really good. So that's going to be the next thing. I'm going to order a set of intake manifold gaskets and plan on putting this in the sandblasting cabinet and getting it cleaned up. It needs to be done. And then of course I'm looking at the frame and so forth, and I really need to do a good job of getting all this cleaned up as well. Since I discovered that the engine oil leak is not an engine oil leak but a transmission oil leak, I've just rethought a lot of things on this, and I want it to look as good as it can. I'm not expecting it to be Autorama type of clean, but I think it deserves to be a little bit nicer than this. So that's the next step. Get some parts ordered and we'll get that thing cleaned up. Well, I think that's going to be a wrap for me today. I'm pretty tired. It runs good. I came up with the plan to pull the intake off. I got to drain the coolant out anyway to do the thermostat gasket, housing gasket, because that's leaking a little bit. So just get the gasket, get that ordered, and pop that intake off. Sandblast it up good in the cabinet, get it clear coated again, make it look pretty. Before I pull it off, I'm going to go ahead and get in there with my stethoscope and see if I can figure out why that carburetor is whistling, determine whether I need to build another one out of my stash of carburetors, or if I can figure out why that's whistling, fix that. And that'll be the next step. So of course in the meantime, these fenders are ready to move forward as well, but I've got to have that ready before I bolt them on so that I'm not working over my freshly painted parts. So not putting any kind of a delay on getting the fenders done. I'm going to press forward, but now that I've got the plan, that's another day there. Probably tomorrow I'll get sanding on the fenders again and get them ready to start painting. The weather gets nice this weekend. We should be able to do that this weekend. So that's going to do it for episode 19 of My Car Shop 47 Ford Street Rod Project. I really appreciate you joining. Spread the word about the show if you've enjoyed it. There's going to be more episodes on the Oakland, more on the GTS, obviously more on the 47, and we have a bunch of other car projects around here that we'll be doing, so drop us a note in the comments if you would. Say what you'd like to see, ask questions, and we'll see you next time on My Car Shop.